Cool.
Yeah, that was only the third time I woke up in Tijuana with no clothes on. So
yeah.
I'm glad that's going to be the only time I ever tell that story live again. So.
Fewer crabs, I'm hoping, this time around.
Fewer. Yes.
Fewer. Okay, good.
I've learned.
Yeah.
Third time's the charm.
You know, you don't have to go to an actual doctor. You can just spend like 2 or 3 days in the tub and let them all drown.
Is that right?
Crabs need air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 353, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm Rett.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Spotify or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, sometimes some Star Trek. All super chats are read on the air so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll get some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, I said 352, didn't I? Pretty sure I said 352. People are correcting me.
Somebody said tree fitty tree.
Oh. No, 352. Mondays did not count. Monday was not a Talking Heads. That was just come hang out. So I don't know if people are confused. Anyway, Patreon, link in the description. Join the awesome community that hangs out over there, as well as talk to the other hosts of Talking Heads. Thank you for messing up my vibe. Gosh, the show was ruined.
You can't count on this audience for anything.
I said 355, apparently. Awesome.
Oh, I didn't hear 355, but you know what? I was just kind of zoning out, thinking about my next joke.
Well, now there's conflicts about what I actually said. Some people say 353, others say 355. We may have to go to the tape on this one.
If only it was being taped.
Yeah. 352. Zach heard 353. I'm going to trust Zach on this one. So, all right. 352. I started to say 250, and then I caught myself, and so I think I just transposed the 3 twice instead of only correcting the first 2. I think that's what happened. Yeah, heard 353. All right. All right. Definitely said 353. Well, whatever.
You get enough episodes, guys, It's bound to happen. All right?
Did you know that number is actually off?
I bet it is. Because we've missed weeks. We've definitely done streams where we've had the whole episode wrong the entire time.
We've definitely had the whole episode wrong the entire time. I skipped a number altogether, and it was actually a fairly important number. I got ahead of myself, and one of our anniversary streams was one too early.
Oh no. Well, it had to be that way to fit the joke. So
right.
Otherwise, episode 420 didn't make any sense.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. The numbers are all made up, and the points don't matter. That's
well, my game dev podcast. We started counting the episodes at 0, because we're doing game dev and programming and things like that.
As one does.
We started at 0, and but we'd always call it episode 0, the first episode, episode 1, the second episode, like that type of thing.
Nice. I like that.
People were not a fan.
Episode 0, part 3.
And then occasionally, we'd have 2-parters, or we'd have special midweek episodes. So we'd be episode, 11.1 or episode 11.5 or whatever it might be.
I've done a couple funny numbering schemes before on this channel. It was an early episode, I think, with me and Steve, where we tried to go live and my internet was dropping like crazy. Or no, it was me and John. And my internet just would not hold up. And so I ended up just saying, screw it, we'll just do the show to no one. And so we recorded the show and then I re-uploaded it. I think I did that twice. Nice. And I know I've had a couple 0.5 episodes in there. We had the no human malware special at the start of lockdown, where we did a side A and a side B, where we just did 4 hours of talking of anything but what was going on in the world.
Oh yeah, that was popular back then.
Yeah. So no, I mean, there's been funky numbering all over the place. So who knows what episode this actually is.
You know what I really hated though back then when things started going funky was getting caught up on things where they didn't know that it had happened yet. Like, so you're going back and you're like getting caught up on your podcast and like they're just going about business as usual and you're like, oh, I can't.
Like,
skipping these episodes.
Like season 6, episode 7 of The Blacklist. Like,
right.
I can't wait to see what they do for the finale.
Oh man.
Yep. Yeah, there was a lot of interesting things that happened over the years. Waiting for the episode numbers to just be the star date. Craft Computing's log, stardate 346129.2.
Is that today's star date?
I have no idea. I think he just number souped us.
No, don't do that, Skull.
Yep. Let's see.
Why did they even switch to a star date? Like, what's the advantage there?
Well,
I mean, I get it, right? You can't measure the passing of time via the motion of the planet that you're no longer on, and
correct.
You're traveling faster than the speed of light. It's like,
so that has a lot to do with it. Of 1 Earth day is not necessarily the standard measure of time anymore. So
interesting.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. Anyway, we had a little bit of a false start, not including the number discrepancy. Look, the title is correct, okay? I do what I can on here. But I hit... Rett and I were ready at 6 o'clock on the nose, and we chatted for a couple seconds, and they're like, all right, let's go. So I hit start streaming in OBS. And then I look over at YouTube. And YouTube goes, excellent connection, and the chat is flowing. And then all of a sudden, the chat just kind of stops flowing. And I went, oh, that's weird. That's taken a while. And I'm still just looking at the YouTube window over here on my far left. And then YouTube goes, live streaming unavailable right now. It blacks out my screen and says, YouTube live stream unavailable. And I went, well, that's weird. And I look back to my right, and Rett is frozen. I went, well, that's not good. So I look down and I've lost internet. My Ethernet has the little X mark over the top of it. I go, oh crap, what is going on? So all of a sudden I'm going through like my 9 diagnosis steps of, can we ping out? Is it my local switch? Is it a network card? Is it internet? Is it, what is it? It didn't take me long, but my internet refreshed. But I do have 2 internet connections. I have a standard terrestrial line, and then I also have a Starlink dish for backup. And I've had to use it a couple times because inevitably my primary internet goes down once or twice a year during a live show. And literally having Starlink, paying for Starlink for the year, if I use it twice for Talking Heads, it pays for itself. So that's my metric, is if I use it 2 out of 52 times, I've paid for Starlink for the year. But I'm going, okay, well, my internet's back up. But then I look up and Rett is no longer in my Zoom meeting. I went, there's only one explanation. Portland has been EMP'd.
Yeah, seriously. My first thought was like, well, this is how I find out about World War III. First, the cyber attack shuts us down.
It's funny, but it's also not. That I think that's how I'm going to find out that the bombs have dropped.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to be inside when it happens. So.
Yeah, no doubt. But, yeah, no, like I look up and my internet went down, but then reconnected. And I went, okay, well, my backup's online now. And I look up and I went, Rett hasn't reconnected. I have 30 seconds to get my family to the basement. Like, that's immediately where my head went.
Like, if he's gone, then it's definitely me next.
Right.
That shockwave is traveling at the speed of sound.
Yeah. Suddenly I'm Walton Goggins in Fallout, just, slow motion running. Screw the car, it's not fast enough. Get on the horse. Anyway, tonight is a special show. Not only because it's episode 352, but in the after party tonight on the exclusive Discord server, which you can join by joining the Patreon. Friend of the channel, who you also saw on my Come Hang Out stream on Monday, George over at Chips and Cheese. He was at a bottle shop this last weekend, and he took a picture of a bottle and he goes, "Hey, anyone had one of these before? Is it any good?" And my man picked up a bottle of barley wine. As a lot of you know, that's like mine and Steve's favorite beverage of all time. That's our favorite style of wine, of beer. And we went, "Oh man, have you ever had a barley wine before?" And he goes, "No, I haven't." And I said, "I highly recommend a spotter." Just someone to stand by you, rub your shoulders every once in a while, make sure you're not lifting that glass too hard,
Careful, you clink that down a little hard.
Yeah. So George is going to experience his first barley wine in the after party tonight over on the Discord.
All right.
I have one beer to get started, but then I'm going to open my barley wine probably midway through the stream. So probably at the 1 hour mark, I'm going to open a barley wine. And I know a lot of other people are going to be joining us with the barley wine in the after party. So if you want to get in on Barley Wine Wednesday, this is your 1 hour warning to do so.
I see. Yeah, I had no idea what was going on in the Discord. Everybody's talking about Barley Wine Wednesday, and I was like, since when?
You know what? If you and I can arbitrarily decide it's Wine Wednesday, then the Discord can arbitrarily just claim, Barley Wine Wednesday. I think that's a fair trade.
That's totally true.
Yeah.
Totally true.
All right. People are saying you're a little low. Can you give me a quick... I just need to check your levels real quick.
Hey, howdy.
For a couple seconds.
How we doing, guys? Yeah, the game of Morrowind, the island of Varden fell. And home to the Dark Elves. Before that, it was home to the I guess the Chimer. And,
this has been your Morrowind minute.
When did the Nords take over? I think the Chimer were first, and then they were cursed by Azura to become the Dunmer.
Well, I know Skyrim belongs to the Nords, and they're kind of an imperialist bunch. And
Morrowind at one point belonged to the Nords too.
Yeah, so obviously they tried to go to Morrowind and kick the Dunmer out. Dunmer and Khajiit both had a claim over Morrowind.
Remember that strangely enough that Skyrim, right? It's all snowy. It seems northern, but Morrowind is on the same latitude as Skyrim.
Yeah, it's just Skyrim's a higher elevation. That
must be.
Yeah,
that has to be it.
Yeah, Morrowind is equilaterally the same, or longitudinally, right?
No, latitude.
Oh yeah,
longitude is this way.
Okay, sorry.
It's
latitude is equal.
I remember it because of the really annoying sort of like mnemonic thing where my 8th grade social studies teacher said, "It's like the ladder, dude. Like you're climbing the rungs of a ladder. Latitude, ladder, dude." Anyway, stupid, but there you go.
Here we go.
How are my levels though? I got some gain if I need to.
No, I think we're good now. Barley Wednesday. Ooh, I like that.
Oh, here we go. So we got the map. And of course, this is a hand-drawn map. If you look at... no, just kidding. There's lots of different maps that show it a little bit even more equal. But that's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean... if we zoom in right here. So here's your Skyrim. I mean, there's Whiterun. It's actually, just barely above. You got Riften and almost dead even with Belmora.
Yeah. And yeah, I'd say that kind of suits like as far as like the climate of Balmora goes, it seems to
Mhm.
suit Riften a little bit. But like if you're looking at a white run and right there in the middle, that's probably like Aldroon or something close on
Yeah.
Morrowind. You start to get a little rural, but up there, yeah, you definitely got like Nisus or you got Aldroon somewhere. Yeah, but I get maybe you're getting a lot of different weather patterns mixed up from the Red Mountain, the ash storms that spew out of the volcano in the middle of the Morrowind Island and stuff. So, maybe you're getting some type of climate adjustment.
Or maybe it's
I don't
just a
know.
game.
No, that can't be it. I did a whole PowerPoint presentation. My brother threw a PowerPoint party a few weeks ago, and I did a whole presentation on the geographic regions of the island of Vardenfell. And I dove into like the architectural choices. I dove into like the governmental style of the great houses that occupy that area.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice one.
Rogue Honey Kolsch. This is
Which you have had on the show before.
I have had on the show. In fact, I think I had it last week or 2 weeks
Oh.
ago, because there was no show last week. But yeah, I had this one in the fridge, and it's one of the lighter beers that I could have in preparation for my barley wine of choice for this evening. Honey Kolsch. Rogue has a brew house up in Portland. Obviously, their main brewery is in Newport, Oregon, but they have a brew house up in Portland. They have some phenomenal fish and chips up there. Almost as good as San Em Brewery, although I will give San Em the nod. But my favorite thing to get up there is the fish and chips and the honey kolsch.
Nice.
That's my go-to.
I'm just keeping it simple tonight. I bought myself a 6-pack of Sam Adams Oktoberfest, which
Nice.
is one of my favorite seasonal beers. And it's good. And I'm just drinking it right out of the bottle. So there you go. We do have a super chat up there a little ways.
Yes.
And then maybe we can start looking at some of this news.
Yes, Daryl chimes in with 2 Aussie bucks. Thank you so much. User rational numbers. This is episode E.
Done.
Just like a calculator. This is episode error E2. Novella wants to know if we're doing an ABV challenge in the after party.
Oh God, it's Wednesday night.
No, those don't end well for anyone. So
I can't quite get my ABVs up there anymore. Like an 8% beer just hits me so much harder now.
Yeah.
It used to feel like I could do a few of those without big deal. But one, I'm like ready for a nap afterwards, all sorts of things.
Yeah, I've been, as you know, I usually keep a case of pub beer around the house. And I usually have one of those during the workday. Usually like at lunch or right after lunch. I'll come downstairs if I'm doing some writing, and I've got a pub beer. It's basically water, but keeps me going. I am sure Rett is still in his 20s, so we've again got the how old is Rett going on.
I'm looking pretty good, but
Mm-hmm.
I was going to preface that story with an 8% beer just hits different in your 30s, but
Wait until you're 40.
yeah, Jeff, wait.
Oh God. My daughter's latest thing is you're old, and so she keeps trying to slip that joke in whenever she can. Hey Dad, when was our car made? I said, I don't know. This one was 2008. She goes, wow. When did you get it? I said, 2010. She goes, wow. It's like 3 years older than me. You're really old. And so she's like, trying to be clever like that. And I've let her go a couple of times. Today I got her back. I said, wow, that is really old. And you know what? You'll be really old one day too. Unless you keep making that joke. Cheesecake chimes in. Hello, George. Chimes in with $2. Y'all are tempting me to open the barley wine early. Let's save your barley wine until the after party. If you're gonna stay up late with us, I don't want to make you stay up later than you intend, but I think it'd be fun to watch your first impression of a barley wine.
He hates it.
Well, I mean, we spent all week building it up for him. This is like Saturday, I think, is he sent me this picture. Yeah.
One time I went to Capital Tap Room and the bartender there mistakenly poured me a whole pint of a barley wine.
If that was Chuck, that was no accident.
Yeah, it might not have been. I don't know. It was late, we were doing our usual, like, right before closing pit stop at Capital Tap Room, and I was like, hey, barley wine, pour me some of that.
Yeah, that sounds like it'll hit the spot.
I had a whole pint of it in front of me. Oh, God.
I may or may not have gone through, at one point, an entire pint of the... what's that mead that comes in the clay bottle, but the version of it we can't get in Oregon because it's over 20%?
I don't know. I'm the wrong one to ask. The good stuff, though, huh?
Yes, yeah.
The clay bottle mead.
Yeah. John got some of that on tap. It might not have been a pint. It might have been a 12-ounce tulip, but it was a lot. Anyway, let's get into the news, starting with, this one's a little bit divisive for a lot of different reasons. Yeah. So it was revealed, I want to say early this year, but Winamp, the makers of Winamp, yes, that Winamp, it kicks the llama's ass, were debating turning Winamp open source. And the community went, that sounds amazing. I mean, this is one of the most beloved applications of all time. It is one of the most heavily modified, still one of the most used. I mean, it frequently hits top 5 charts as far as media players on PCs. Even though it came out in, 97? Like, it's a long time running application. Yeah. So the idea that the original developers would open source it and let the community modernize it, that was... Yeah, Winamp is old. Thank you, Michael. You want to know old? I used Winamp on a computer I built myself.
I still use Winamp. So I've stopped streaming music, and I listen to music exclusively that I own and or have digital copies of, I guess. Anyway, and I use Winamp. I still use it. In fact, actually, just recently, I have kind of started making the transition over to another media player called Wake Up, which is very similar, but it's stable. Right. Because Winamp is really good, but unfortunately, like, and I can change skins, and I can use any skin that was available for Winamp ever, but some of them look like crap on modern resolutions, obviously. And also, like, sometimes Winamp just crashes all the time. Like, if I just go through all of my music, I can click next, I can pause, I can go back, I can scrub through, I can change the volume. But if I want to pick something specific, like 90% of the time it'll crash. It depends on which window in the playlist, in the player that I'm using. Like, I have to use a specific window in the player to navigate. It's a mess. So I can see why they've kind of like are looking at opening it up and allowing maybe I'm burying the lead here a little bit of the story. I can't remember if we kind of got to the punchline of this one, but the idea is that they're going to let, they're asking for help. Please help us modernize Winamp.
George says, oof, Winamp is older than he is. To which I say, oof. George, that cuts deep.
I don't know.
That cuts deep.
Would be nice to have little to no memory of 9/11. So
be nice to not be looking at trying to start saving for a house during the 2008 financial crisis.
Got him. Yeah, trade, fair trade-off.
Yeah.
What's a little bit of psychological trauma for getting in on the housing market?
You know, as an elder millennial, I am getting really irritated with these once in a generation traumas that we've had to endure every 3 years of my adult life.
Oh God. And they're only accelerating. Like, I feel like that's since 2020, they're just like, here we go.
Yep. Yep. Anyway, so the idea of open sourcing Winamp, obviously the community loved. It's a beloved program. People would love to see it modernized. And if the main development team can't bring a modern version of it that's stable, modern features, etc., let the community take care of it. So they said, yeah, release it open source. We'll welcome it with open arms. And it'll probably immediately be one of the most well-maintained open source projects on the net. So Winamp decided to open source.
Woohoo!
And everyone hated that.
Why?
What? Winamp went open source. And
But is it
everyone
really
disliked
open?
that. Well, what's the deal? Shouldn't we be celebrating the fact that, you know, this program went open source? Absolutely we should. Had they actually open sourced it. What happened was they did release the source code for Winamp on GitHub. You can download it. However, if you look down here at this little link on Hackaday called the Winamp Collaborative License.
Oh, jeez.
Basic permissions, all granted for the term of the copyright, program, irrevocable, blah, 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 blah. Contributions. You are encouraged to contribute improvements, enhancements, and bug fixes back to the project. Assignment of rights. By submitting contributions, you agree that all intellectual property rights, including copyright in your own contributions, are assigned to Winamp. So, you know, kind of standard thing. If one of my contributions gets accepted to Winamp, Winamp owns that code and can use it in their open source model. That's pretty standard.
Sure.
Waiver of rights. You waive any right to claim authorship of the contribution or object to any distortion, mutilation, or other modifications of the contribution. So if you contribute open source code, you are waiving your right to own that portion of the code, which, again, fully open source, that's the way things work. If you contribute to an open source repository, they own the code that you submit and can modify it as see fit. You can't dictate how that code is used unless you also have your own licensing, but likely it wouldn't be adopted into their open source library if that was the case. However, what is this? What's this? Restrictions.
Restrictions.
Open source does have restrictions. You know, there are licenses available for non-commercial. So you can download and utilize a source code package for your own personal use or use of a general community. You can make a custom version, but you can't commercialize it. You can't sell a version of this product. And that's a pretty standard thing. There's other models that are restrictive open source where, you know, they say you cannot deviate so far outside of the code base. You can't, you know, add unauthorized, or you can't, you know, do illegal things with the code base. Like, that's a pretty standard restriction. No distribution of modified versions. You may not distribute modified versions of the software, whether in source or binary form. What that means is you are welcome to download the source code for Winamp and compile it yourself and modify it yourself. But you cannot distribute any code changes outside of the core repository. They have to be accepted into the code branch for them to be shared.
Gross.
Official distribution. Only the maintainers of the official repository are allowed to distribute the software and its modifications. No sub-licensing.
So they basically just want to, like, audition changes.
They want the community to make code for them for free, in which they still own full rights to, and the community gets nothing.
Computing has fallen a long ways.
Now,
you know,
now on Monday when this was announced, they also said no forking of the repository. You can't take our code base and track changes because that counts on the code distribution, which you're not allowed to do. You couldn't even fork the repository when this announcement went up. They have since rescinded that piece of the user agreement. So you can like track your own code base now in GitHub by forking it. But they still don't want you distributing which if you fork it, you have to make it a private fork under the licensure. Otherwise, you are distributing code base because it's readable from other people outside of you for your personal use.
You know, it's bonkers to me that in 2024, there isn't a good music media player playlist making app.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can do all the things that we know and love that are in Winamp and even like Windows Media Player, which I saw some people talking about in chat. You can do those things on Spotify, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You can open up Spotify, you can keep it offline,
mm-hmm.
and you can manage all of your playlists in Spotify. Now, I hate that because, well, I'm done with Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been using Winamp, but every time I use Winamp, I think to myself, I'm like, my God, how hard is this to make something that just does these things that I want it to do, that looks the way I want it to do? I mean, one guy made Stardew Valley, for God's sake. Why can't somebody just and granted, that's kind of the chain of thought that led me to Wake Up,
mm-hmm.
which somebody was saying was an old Winamp dev, went out and made his own thing, and that's free too. But it's just crazy to me that like in 2024, there's so few options to do this. I want to have a dedicated media player where I can manage my playlists. Sometimes people always hit me, well, VLC, yeah, exactly. Here, right as I started saying it, Tanmay said, I'm using VLC. Yeah, and you can manage playlists in there, but it sucks.
VLC is ugly as sin.
It's ugly.
One of
now
the hallmarks of
great,
Winamp is it looks so good. It is intuitive. Everything, even custom and matched skins aside, the main player, everything has a matching UI. You can add so many little panels. It's got built-in EQ. It's got synthesis. It's got It's all in the same style and the same UI and the same design language, and it just flows. It's easy to use. We know what the buttons do, and we know what where they should be located. The user experience is beyond good.
And making playlists in VLC is difficult and messy and annoying.
Yes, it is.
Like, I want to be able to manage my playlist from within the app itself. VLC is a great, it's a great product. I use it on every device I have. It's a necessity. But for this specific thing, and yeah, I'll use it to listen to music, sure. And I have a lot. Even on my phone, I use it. But it just doesn't quite have the functionality that I want to use it. See, and somebody says that they use Plex to manage it, and I've thought about doing that, but Plex doesn't even quite do the things that I want it to do either. But
Plex works, but it is clunky. It is Plex is a video player first, and an audio player is an afterthought. And the UI, especially on the phone, where you'd probably want to use for mobile, for music playback, is not nearly as intuitive as it should be. It's not as easy to create your music playlist as it should be. You have to browse to each individual song, open that song, hit the little 3 buttons, and then say add to playlist. Well, which playlist do you... It's like 3 or 4 sub-menus, and then you got to back out of all of them. There's no quick, easy, intuitive UI to simply add this to a playlist. And then reorganizing your playlist, oh my God, is a nightmare. Changing the order in which you add items.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's a mess. It's bizarre to think how far we've come from, the early 2000s, where it seemed like there was a lot of different options for this type of stuff. And I see people mention a lot of solutions that I've considered or tried out. And ultimately, I've landed on Winamp just because, and then kind of Wake Up by proxy lately too. But I just landed on it because I guess it scratches the itch of that, what I grew up using and utilizing. It's too bad that Winamp is kind of, I mean, it's a great idea to open source their product. Bad idea the way they've done it, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
I guess that's par for the course with literally anything software related in the last 10 years. So,
Right.
I mean, even Audacity is, used to be like the crowning achievement of like audio recording, free and open source audio recording. And then they sold their product to some like Russian software firm.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that was a big news story into itself. And
Yep.
I've finally come around and on one of my machines, I have, the current version of Audacity as is from those guys. But then, yeah, from the official. But then on my other machines, I have different forks, free and open source forks that I like.
Yeah, I have
am used to.
I have Dark Audacity on this
Dark
machine.
Audacity is like, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And I'll be the first to, like, some of the AI tools in the modern Audacity are kind of fun to play with, like being able to strip out songs into the stems and stuff is like a pretty cool like free feature to have. It's not perfect, but like it's pretty fun, especially like you want to like if you're like me and you want to learn it, something on guitar rather than just going on Ultimate Guitar and like looking at the tabs. It's like, oh, you can strip out the guitar and you can kind of listen to it. And it's not perfect, but it's much better than like trying to like muddy through a whole recording. Anyway, that's another tangent.
Yep. Does Audacity have the telemetry now? It does have some telemetry, although telemetry in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's what is the telemetry? Because feedback to developers about what specifically you were doing in the application when a crash or a bug occurred is invaluable information. And that's telemetry. Telemetry that spies on you, which is what we think of when we think of telemetry, because that's the word that Microsoft used for, we're going to monitor every application and how long you use it on your Windows PC and report back to Daddy Jobs. Not Daddy Jobs, Daddy Gates. And or maybe Jobs, hashtag Steve Jobs not dead. Telemetry has received a bad word, or has received bad,
press.
Yeah. Implicit negative connotations because of the way that big tech is using telemetry. But telemetry in and of itself is not a bad thing.
And I'll be the first to admit, like, the moment that it went to a big firm and we were all talking about telemetry. In fact, I think I was on the episode of Talking Heads where we talked about it, and I was like, nah, I'm done with that. And I found the free and open source forks that I use to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some research on it maybe a few months ago, and it's like, well, what are they collecting? And people are so mixed on it, and I don't know enough to go digging into what they're collecting myself, but for the most part, people are saying like, well, it's nothing that's unusual. Like, you probably have phone apps that collect more data than Audacity does, and
guaranteed.
And so I have it on a machine that I don't use all the time. I primarily use it for audio work, and I only use it occasionally. And also, I wanted to see what the new tools were like. All these new AI tools that they're implementing. How integrated are they into the Audacity workspace? How easy are they to use? One of the things about Audacity is that it has a lot of free and interesting plugins that you can hunt down and you can install, but the learning curve is a bit steep. And I actually found that the learning curve for the AI stuff was much less steep than some of the other tools they have. They're not, again, the tools they're not flawless, they're not perfect. And in fact, the results that it can generate from some stuff is pretty awful, but cutting tracks into their spare parts and doing all that's kind of a fun feature. Cosworth chimes in with $2. He says, come on, Rhett, what can you do with, quote, routine info?
Well, you can't sell it for advertising gain, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah. And we already live in a surveillance state anyways. And they've proven time and time again that with the right information, they can basically just track in real time a person's cell phone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, literally like geolocate it down to the minute.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there might not be a name associated with it, but there's so many instances where you don't need a name to know where somebody is standing, It's like
right.
the most ridiculous thing ever, but whatever.
Yeah. I love a lot of people's misunderstanding about tracking and user data and things like that. Tweeting from their iPhone, the government ain't never gonna track me, kind of crap,
I'm always happy when I can log into my Google account and look at the ad profile that they've accumulated on me, and it's like, if it's less than 50% accurate, I'm like, this is a win.
Yes.
Yep. My favorite thing is my Google profile doesn't know I have kids. There you go. Like, there's a win right there. Yeah.
That's pretty good. There was something about mine years ago that was wildly off because, I would get contracted to do weird job. I mean, not unlike you, you get contracted for weird things from time to time, I'm not going to give too much away about your profession, but, I would be contracted to, implement some program at some business or whatever. So I'd be furiously Googling for like 3 weeks about specific products and things like that. And for the next 6 years would receive ads related to that. It's like, nah, bro, we didn't even end up buying that crap.
That's what I hate about the ad algorithm the most is like, one of the things that, say what you will about commercials on cable television in the early 2000s and late 90s, they showed you products that you didn't yet know you needed.
Right.
By time the Google ad machine gets to me, they're 4 days too late. I've already bought what I needed to.
Right.
Or I decided I didn't want it. And now they're going to show me ads.
So, some people know, but in the last couple of weeks, I've been having a bit of car trouble. It's been car computing or craft carring over here at the studio.
Carding.
Yeah,
nailed it.
Definitely drinking involved. Not driving at the same time because they don't drive right now. But
I would if I could, though. I swear.
Right. Anyway, so I bought a couple of parts here and there, but I get onto Amazon right now, and my For You deals are random oil and air filters for cars I've never even heard of, a DisplayPort cable, a brake booster, let's see, click on a random set here.
See, this is why you just got to have your Chilton's guide on hand for every vehicle you own.
Right.
Go and buy it in person from your local bookstore. They got them all.
Yeah.
Google can't track your page turning.
A set of front disc brake rotors for an F-150. I've never owned an F-150. Let alone looked up parts for an F-150. But there it is. Ignition coils and spark plugs and key fobs for an Audi. There's an Audi key fob on my Amazon home screen right now. I've never owned an Audi, that's for sure. Do you know what happened? I bought one key fob for a Chevrolet, and so I'm going to get recommended, hey, you bought one for a Chevy, but have you bought one for your Daewoo yet? No, because I don't have a Daewoo. That was a one-time purchase. It's very similar to I bought a toilet seat. You know how many toilet seats I buy? One every 10 years.
If that.
The moment has passed.
I'm replacing a toilet before I replace a damn toilet seat, bro.
Right.
Like a toilet seat is a very special situation.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's my Amazon feed right now. So I'm sure they love the dramatic twist from, exclusively SSDs and memory and heat sinks to exclusively like merch bulk orders of like coasters and things like that, to like grocery purchases like Gatorade and coffee and tea, to hey, now he's gonna spend 2 weeks ordering nothing but oil pan gaskets and key fobs. Figure that one out. It's great. Codsworth sends over $5. Thank you again, Cosworth. Remember, for the Paranoid, Stuxnet has been known about for 14 years old. What? Imagine what exists now, and with that said, I'm preparing myself CX9 stuff. Oh, sweet Rett, it's all online subscriptions now. Yes, yeah, also it's all online subscriptions. Speaking of online subscriptions, excellent segue, my friend. Marquise, bro, we trusted you. We trusted you, bro. What is this? MKBHD, otherwise known as Marquise Brownlee, preeminent tech YouTuber, influencer, social media personality, however you want to quantify him. MKBHD released an application for iOS and Android last week that feels out of place in 2024.
It's like Winamp.
No, because I think people are excited for a return to Winamp. I don't think people are excited for a return to dedicated wallpaper applications.
Speak for yourself, bro. I use Wallpaper Fusion from Stardock.
That is for Windows, and that offers enhancements to the wallpaper functionality of Windows. That offers like motion in the background and stuff like that.
It also helps with like multi.
It helps with multi. Yeah, exactly. It's added functionality for a price, and for that, I can get on board. I love Display. It's a great application, especially for multi-monitor management.
I thought I was going to get razzed for this, but you're on board. Okay,
no,
cool.
I'm fully on board for Display Fusion. It's a great program.
I called it Wallpaper Fusion, but it is Display Fusion.
Yeah, Display Fusion. Yeah. See, I knew what you were talking about.
You nailed it.
Wallpaper Engine, also a great one. Again, adds functionality that you otherwise wouldn't have. It does have a price to it, which, if you're willing to pay for that function, sweet. That's how the free market and capitalism works. But when it comes to curating wallpapers for a mobile phone, to say that ship has sailed, I think is quite the understatement. To say... And look, there is a free version of this app, but apparently it's so riddled with advertisements, it's basically unusable. And that's 2024 saying unusable. Like, I can't imagine I haven't downloaded this, but the complaints have been vitriolic and frequent. But there's also a premium version of this app, which gets rid of the advertisements for the low price of $12 per month or $50 per year.
What?
Marquise, bro, I love you.
Hey, Cosworth said it. It's all subscriptions now, baby.
It really is. And look, like, I know there is some value intrinsic to selling a brand, and by extension selling an aesthetic or a vibe, or whatever the Gen Zers call it these days, to make your brand top of mind whenever people are using products that you yourself probably reviewed. Like, there is definitely something intrinsically valuable there. Maybe not to the end user, but definitely for you as the creator of said application, as the business creator. You want to be top of mind. You want mind share. You want people to open their phone, go, oh, that's a great wallpaper today. Oh, that was MKBHD's app. Oh, look, MKBHD just posted a new video. I get it. I get that. If you are contributing something of greater value or greater functionality than the built-in function of the phones, I totally get that, and I'm totally behind that. And MKBHD is saying it's not just $50 wallpaper subscription, by the way, subscription plan. There's more features coming. I would love to know what more features are coming that are genuinely going to be value add. But the fact of the matter is, the features aren't there, and you're still charging $50.
And I think that's a big heart of the issue, is that the type of person, maybe I'm wrong about this, but the type of person that would be drawn to something like that already knows its value, and it ain't that much. You know what I mean? People are in chat saying, like, you can go on Steam and get Wallpaper Engine for $4 for a lifetime.
Yeah.
I bought Display Fusion in a bundle on Humble Bundle for like $10 and got
13 applications with Display
Multiplicity, which is a virtual KVM that I use all the time. Like, and that was all for $10. Like, yeah. I don't know I can't remember what else it came with, but those two alone. Fences. You know what? This is goofy, but they have one called Fences. Have you seen this one?
Oh yeah.
I actually really like Fences.
Yeah.
I like Fences. It's cheesy, but I like it.
Yeah.
Because I do everything on my desktop anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it lets me have these just wild, messy arenas on my desktop that I can scroll through rather than like, let's go to my folder labeled old desktop, which I just dragged everything and dumped it into. Yeah. My life gets a little messy sometimes, but Fences, baby, Fences helps. And if you just go to bit.ly/humblein, you can go buy yourself the next Stardock bundle, and a little bit goes to me to keep my lights on.
Rett, you sat at my computer for a couple of years. On my desktop is a folder called Desktop.
Yep.
In which every once in a while, everything gets selected and drug into. That way I never lose anything. Because sometimes I'll drag
a system I'm intimately familiar with.
About once a year, that folder gets too busy.
Mm-hmm.
So a new folder gets created called Old Desktop. And all of the contents of that folder goes one subdirectory further.
Oh,
and then that goes one subdirectory further.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my record.
You weren't
for this
defending me. You were validating my filing system on a deep and personal level.
You're seen, Jeff.
I feel so seen right now.
To be fair, ever since I hit my 30s, I start adding dates to those subfolders. So like the date that it's created, and then I dump everything into it so that I know. Like, oh, is it? But yeah. So it's like old desktop, September 25th, 2024.
Yeah.
That way, when I'm digging subfolder into subfolder into subfolder, I kind of know abouts where I'm looking for.
Yeah. But I think you hit the nail on the head, is the people who would buy an MKBHD application are his audience. And his audience, he spent a decade now training them how to be tech savvy and avoid subscriptions and get the most value from their money from tech companies and from the products that they buy. And look, I'm not going to pretend to speak for everyone, but I think I can sum it up best as this feels like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Like
Rizzo here says something. They say, do people change their wallpaper that much? I pick a background when I get the phone, and I'll keep it till I change the phone. And I think that's definitely probably true for a lot of users, and it was true for me for a long time. But
Yeah.
I find that the older I get, the more price conscious I get, and I find that like it's something as simple as changing the wallpaper once a year revitalizes my phone a little bit to me.
It
I've
really
gone a
does.
step further, and I'll change my wallpaper, I'll change my themes, I'll change the layout of my
Little
home
color
screens.
scheme, make your thumb go
Yeah.
somewhere else. Yeah.
It literally makes my phone feel like brand new. And I do the same thing with my desktop. Sometimes with a desktop, it's a little easier. You can just slap in a new hard drive or whatever, and it really is a new computer.
Yeah.
But otherwise, changing the layout of things, it just adds that new spark to my brain that makes it feel new, that makes it feel novel, that allows me to get a little bit extra use out of it without dropping another $1,000 for a brand new phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried doing other things, like occasionally, like I've tried like the minimalist launchers and things like that, and those work to a point. But like honestly, like I like having access to all the time wasting apps and things like this, and so like just recently, I just changed my my home screen to be something kind of cute, little frog guy there, and
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and at the first of the year, I'll change it to something else, and we'll go and
it should be a surprise to no one, but I have a Strange New Worlds com badge as mine.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It's a real good shot. It's just a com badge leaning up. It's got some like fancy little bouquet balls in the background. It's pretty, and it makes me smile every time I open my phone.
Brandon says factory reset your phone once a year and start installing everything fresh. Don't import. New phone experience. And that's true. You can do that too.
Absolutely.
I kind of have a lot of just like the way my brain works. I've got on my PC, I've got old desktop folders within old desktop folders within old desktop folders and so on. And my phone's the same way. Like I can't really afford to like be like, where was that document at? Like,
yeah,
I just need it. So, when I get a new phone, I don't really import anything over unless it's important. I got that stuff all cloud backed up and stuff. But as far as my phone, I can't really factory reset because then, I mean, I could probably would be fine, but it's just not the way my brain works. So
yeah. So this whole launch, man. MKBHD has responded. By the way, there's another part of the controversy, and that's that the app is asking for
your birthday and social security number.
well, near unilateral permissions on the phone. God. Location and contact info and all kinds of stuff like that. So MKBHD said part of building in public is getting mass feedback immediately, which is pretty dope. Almost exactly like publishing a YouTube video. First thing we're doing is fixing the excessive data disclosure, as people rightfully brought up for transparency. We'd never actually ask for your location, internet history, etc. The data disclosures that everyone is screenshotting is likely too broad, and largely driven by what the ad network suggests. Well, there's your first problem: is you let the ad network dictate what information the users make available to the ad network. That makes you the bad guy here. I don't want to mince words about that. In one part of my brain doesn't like want to pick a fight with MKBHD. The other part of my brain goes, bro, you put your name on this and you're charging the subscription fee. It is entirely up to you. And the fault lies with you if something goes wrong.
The fight has been picked,
right?
And it wasn't by you,
right? Exactly. Yes, I'm drawing all 130 viewers of the stream right now to this for attention, but like this is a bad look. This is a really bad look. These are the kinds of decisions that destroy any kind of trust people have with a brand.
But this is just typical capitalism brain rot. This is where it all leads. Why are we like? On one hand, I want to say, like, yeah, we're all super disappointed, bro. Like, you've been a bastion in the community for a long time, advocating, training your audience to think and see things through a certain perspective that benefits them. But this is where it leads. God forbid someday, craft computing, you can lead this way too. No.
But that's seriously though.
If
but
I
that's
could
the
release
thing.
a $50 subscription app, you don't fucking think I would. Okay.
Exactly my point. You know what? Let's just do everybody the favor though that when you do it, just be like, yeah, it's about the money.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest.
And
let's not compare it to releasing a YouTube video and like just that's the most disingenuous garbage.
the data disclosures are likely too broad and largely driven by what the ad network suggests. Well, yeah, it's their mission to gain as much ad intelligence as they can so they can sell it to potential advertisers. That's what you signed up for and why you're making money, Marquise. You know this. Don't pawn this off. Working to fix that ASAP. Or more likely...
He's not. I don't know.
Or more likely working to hide it a bit better. Again, I'm not trying to pick a fight, but... Man, this is a bad look. That's a bad statement. As far as pricing, I hear you. Do you really hear us? $50 a year or $12 a month for wallpapers, curated or not? It's your own personal challenge to work to deliver that kind of value for the premium version. Or it's our own personal challenge to deliver, that kind of value for the premium version. Weekly Friday drops are already starting.
Oh, good. Right before everybody goes home for the weekend, you can't fix what you just dropped.
If I got 6 people together for $50 a person, we could probably commission an artist to make us a wallpaper a month.
Oh, yeah. That would be a better... That's an app.
My question
That's an app right there.
My question is, what kind of value are you bringing to your end users who buy the premium subscription and get access to curated wallpapers and things like that, times 100,000 of $50?
That's a whole side of this equation I haven't even been thinking about, because the app, the effort, the business, that whole side of the thing feels so immensely hollow and fake and gross that I didn't even consider the fact that, like, no, this is an app that's supposed to curate something for you, which in ancient terms is like, it's like meant to add some emotion to your life, some value to your life, some benefit, something to your life. Like, what do you get with this? Because I can change my wallpaper on my own.
I think the idea is that it's going to be some exclusive artistic drops is like the main focus of this. And he says
then we're going to find out.
He says other features are coming soon, but they better be some killer other features. Like, it better be Winamp for Android.
I'm calling it right now. We are going to see AI generated wallpapers.
Guaranteed.
Like, that's the only way this goes. I like your spirit saying, like, this is what we better see to make it worth it. Like, where this is leading, the language, the business, it's all leading to the fact, like, well, look, now you can just we have these AI generated wallpapers you can put in. You can have whatever type of wallpaper you want now.
I just can't wait for the NFT wallpapers.
And, like, you know what's funny? It's like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that's the joke we would have been making, because really NFTs is the same level as generative AI in that same way, where it's like, I think anybody that wants to look and see what NFTs were and could do, it's like, okay, there are some serious problems that these things could solve. Not serious problems. There's problems that these things could solve for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then they're just implemented for, like, selling pictures of monkeys and Donald Trump trading cards and, like,
right.
I think those are the only two examples that come to my mind. But woohoo!
It's barley wine time, folks.
It is.
It is barley wine o'clock, or as I like to say, 7:11 p.m. Cyano sends over $5. Remember when Louis Rossmann called out MKBHD for simping Apple and promoting their narrative? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not going to get in between two people in their opinion. MKBHD thinks very highly of Apple. He likes a lot of things that they do. He's also been highly critical of some Apple decisions. But he is a creator and an influencer within the space. He doesn't make money from Apple. They don't sponsor Apple does not give money to anyone for anything. It's why they have $1 trillion. But you can be a person and still be a believer in Apple and not be an Apple shill. And you know, Marquise has said time and time, like, look, he bought a Mac Pro 2019 and he still calls it one of the worst decisions he ever made, but he bought the Mac Pro. Like, call it what you will. You know, and Louis Rossmann is decidedly anti-Apple. I fall somewhere kind of in the middle. I've been burned by Apple before personally. I've thought really highly things of Apple before personally. Their engineering in a lot of regard is second to none. The problem is they also aggressively engineer that anti-consumer devices, which is intrinsically against a lot of my values. So I find myself somewhere in the middle.
I mean, that's always been the true story of Apple from the beginning, is that their engineering is revolutionary in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Their business is completely anti-consumer in so many ways.
Yep. Their business is captive. They want to bring you in. Garden. They want to bring you into their walled garden, so you will spend money in their garden and no one else's. That is their entire business model, top to bottom. And they started that with the iPod. That's how they broke into this market. Is they sold you an iPod so they could sell you a Mac, so they could sell you a laptop, so they could sell you professional software, so they could sell you
songs for 99 cents.
So they can also wall off the music that everyone listens to for 99 cents. And hey, we get access to music for only $1, and there's only songs, there's songs that are only available on this platform. Well, of course I'm going to go buy an iPod. They also market it as this sexy, chic, luxurious item to have, and charged a premium for it, and people bought it hook, line, and sinker. So, yes. But you know what? At the same time, you can't argue that they also make some of the best hardware that's on the market. So it's not flash without substance. It is both. And that's okay. Do I disagree with MKBHD on some things? Yeah, quite a few things. Do I disagree with Louis Rossmann on some things? Yeah, quite a few things. Even though, you know, I agree on some anti-monopolistic practices that MKBHD has spoken about. I agree on a lot of right to repair things that Louis Rossmann's spoken about. It's because we're all people and we have our own opinions and our own worldviews, and that's okay. The world is not black and white. Stop trying to make it that. I know that's a lot to read into a super chat, and Cyano, I do appreciate your super chat. Don't think I'm just crapping on you.
You know what, Cyano? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the other point of view, which is like 100%. You're absolutely right. Those guys can just
screw them all. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nailed it. Well, there you go. So that's that news story.
Yeah. I'm going to drink this.
That's a big one.
This is, it is a big one. The 2023 Mother of All Storms Bourbon Barrel Aged English Style Barley Wine Ale. From Pelican Brewing. Made in, they are in Florence, Oregon, aren't they? Tillamook.
No, they're in Tillamook.
That's right.
You can go and eat and drink at their delightful brewery right by the Big Rock.
That's right. That's right.
I can't remember what it's called.
Flavors of toasted malt and bourbon, notes of vanilla, toffee, and caramel, smooth oak finish. 14%.
Wow.
That's a barley wine.
Is that it?
Cheesecake. Cheese has an opinion in this economy? It's not even that. It's that part of the thing that I try to have on craft computing in general is nuance. And my joke is always nuance in this economy. And it's trying to find the middle ground, because there's always going to be someone who likes something and someone who vehemently disagrees with you, or the other way around. And who's right? Both of them, based on their own worldview and use cases. And that's okay. Not everything has to be Intel is the worst company in the world and they're just taking advantage of the consumer, and AMD is the golden child, but then AMD makes one mistake and AMD's been hating you for years. I hate that about tech media. And that's
not
everyone.
Just tech media. It's the tech consumers too.
Yeah. Well, the tech media has trained the tech consumers to think that way.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Because that's what sells views. And I am 80% of the way done writing a synopsis of a story we're going to talk about here in like 10 minutes or so, and that is Intel launching Xeon 6 with performance cores. And I have a nuanced take on that. Shocker, right? Where it's really good for Intel. It's also it's lacking for Intel. Like I wanted to see them come back with a little bit more vengeance, and the company itself is in such turmoil right now that is this too little too late? Like there's a lot of things to go through about this story, but we'll get to that in a minute. I want to talk about how delicious this is going to be.
What if it's awful?
Oh, that is not awful. Oh, yeah. Whew. That actually gave me a little shiver. That's the ABV working. John J says his is 15.5%. Oh, dear God. Tyler says, actually, Jeff, the world used to be black and white until Dorothy went to Oz and brought Technicolor to society once and for all. Good callback. Good callback. I want to talk about, not how, as always, I'm Jeff. I want to talk about other Jeff. Other Jeff had a week. Other Jeff had a week that a lot of us have been fearful would come. And he was kind of the first to get hit. On Sunday morning, Jeff Geerling. If you don't know who that is, Jeff Geerling, wonderful content creator. He does a lot of content around programming. He's written multiple books on Ansible, Ansible recipes, and all kinds of fun stuff. Literally written the book on Ansible. Also does a heck of a lot of content with Raspberry Pis, and is a huge proponent of the Raspberry Pi Foundation and ARM computing and SBCs and all kinds of fun stuff. Go check him out. He's definitely worth the views. But Jeff Geerling on Sunday published a video titled, "They Stole My Voice with AI." So this is not alleged. This is confirmed. Elecro, a Chinese distributor of single board computers and kind of like a maker community guide, or maker community thing, they published a series of tutorial videos with a very familiar sounding narrator. And it's not that it's like, oh, that kind of sounds like Jeff Geerling. It was, wow, Jeff Geerling read their tutorial. It wasn't even close to not close.
Wow.
It was 100% on the nose. Timbre, inflection, pacing, everything.
Is it possible? Can you play this so we can all hear it or no?
I think I can do that. Let me. I don't know what the volume's going to be, but we will give this a
stand
shot.
by.
Yeah.
Brace
Hi
for
everyone.
impact, everybody.
Welcome to the Crow Panel course. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.
So.
Hi everyone. Welcome to the Crow Panel course.
hear it? I can't
Remember
hear it.
I
to
can hear it.
subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, you can't hear
I'll go
it
along with it.
'cause
Wow,
it's-
that's amazing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everyone in chat should have heard it. It's freaking Jeff Geerling. Like,
I can't believe how accurate that was.
right. Well, if you click on the notes, you can go through and listen to it for yourself real quick if you were the valiant co-host that you claim to be.
I heard it. I could hear what you clicked. It was incredible. I can't believe.
It comes through my
it.
earpiece, Rett. That's how it made it out to them. So no, you didn't. Don't lie to me.
Yes, I did.
Don't lie to me.
I'm holding down my end of this bargain, Jeff, and you're poking holes in it.
I also know how the tech works, Rett. The microphone on Zoom is set here, not here. This is what the people hear.
Fine, I'll go through and click on the notes.
Aha.
Is this what you want me to do?
Don't bullshit me on my own show.
Oh, shit. Wow, there's some artifacts in there, but that's very
See?
uncanny.
See?
That's
I wanted your real
uncanny.
reaction, so thank you.
Like, the artifacts are not like, that's not Jeff Geerling. It's like, oh, he should have really fixed that recording.
It sounded like he was recording it one-off and reading it slowly on purpose so he got it right. Like, that's the level of error we're talking about.
Yeah.
It wasn't,
Yeah, like,
that's not Jeff Geerling, it's that's Jeff Geerling on a bad day.
Yeah. The artifacts I'm hearing, it almost sounds like he was recording under like a CPU overload or something like that. So you get a little bit of like
A little crunchiness.
slight digital,
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit of digital distortion, but it's not. There's no problem with his voice. His voice sounds
Right.
correct.
Correct.
That's uncanny.
Yeah. So this was not just like one video. This was like 7 videos that Elecro published for a walkthrough of some guides that they had on SBCs and programming getting started and things like that. Decidedly not cool, according to Jeff Geerling. And I fully agree with this. There's no nuanced take here. This is complete and utter bullshit, if you ask me.
I do sort of love that, like, not cool is the go-to, like, chill person's, like, utter bullshit, like you say, you know, it's like not cool. And like if a friend tells me that I did something that was not cool, like, take me out back and shoot me. I can't believe I made that mistake. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh my
Not
god, I
cool.
am mortified. Right.
They can't even use bad words to tell me how bad I did. That's how bad I did.
I love how uncommittal our generation is on expressing emotion. Not cool is the epitome of complete and utter bullshit, and no worries is the, you know, I went through like 19 hours of pain and suffering, but you're welcome.
Yeah, those two are different sides of the coin. I love that.
Right, but they're so like just like 5% apart.
No worries,
in
cool.
context.
That's so true. Oh my god.
Anyway, so Jeff Geerling, like, he goes, I'm fairly confident they stole my voice. And he goes, I was uncommittal as to, like, what level they stole my voice. Like, did they just find a voice and make it sound like me? Oh, Jeff, you're so naive. It's what I love about you. But no, I hear that and I go, that's Jeff Geerling. They stole his voice. So he publishes a video on Sunday titled "They Stole My Voice with AI," and goes on to full on call them out. And basically said, hey, that's not cool if this is what happened. And, you know, I'm a creator and, you know, I am not affiliated with Elecro. You know, he's done work with them before, as far as like reviewing things and working with them for samples and things like that. But he hasn't voiced anything for them. He's not endorsing their company. And some people will say, well, you're a public figure, and if people take your picture, like, you can't do anything about that. Right. If I'm at an event and they take my picture at the event, yeah, that's publicly available information. What they're not allowed to do is say I gave an interview at said event and said things that I never said, which is where voice cloning is not cool. Voice cloning and using a sound-alike in a video is tantamount to an endorsement by said creator of your company. It is, I stand with this company. I have a tangible monetary relationship with this company. When that may not be true.
See, and this comes down to the thing I've been saying about AI for a while too, which is like, yeah, sure, if somebody takes your photograph at an event, the thing is that if you as an individual do not want that photograph taken, you can walk off stage, or you can walk away from them, or you can turn around, you can wear a hat, a mask, you can, if somebody's shoving a camera in your face, you could grab that camera, you could throw it on the ground if you really wanted to. I'm not saying that's legal. I'm just saying, like, if somebody's being stubborn about it, these are the steps you can take. There are lots and lots of different levels on that spectrum of interaction. Now, going onto somebody's YouTube video and training your AI on their voice for 1,000 hours. Again, Jeff Geerling has to do it because this is how he makes a living. He has to put the things out there to make his video.
Here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing. How much training data do you think need to be fed to simulate a human voice at this point?
Well, I said 1,000 hours, but in my mind, I would really think it would take less than a dozen.
Give me a number.
Not much.
Give me a number.
I don't know. Your insistence on the way that goes. I mean, an hour of talking is a shit ton of talking.
It's a lot of talking,
so,
right?
I would say 90 minutes.
Human voices to the level that Jeff Geerling was cloned. The most in-depth training models require 60 seconds. Some of the basic ones can be done with 10 seconds of audio.
Yeah. Not the Audacity one. I've tried that, and eventually it just devolves into gibberish. But
60 seconds.
I can believe that.
60 seconds for Uncanny Valley. 10 seconds for That Reminds Me Of. That's where we're at.
I mean, think about how much a person is saying in 60 seconds. You're saying a lot. You're using the most common words over and over and over again. You are probably repeating yourself. You're doing all this.
Yeah.
The number of words that you can spew out in 60 seconds is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And as long as you're not, if someone were to record my voice right now, this is not that dissimilar from a voice that I would record a YouTube video with. They could totally simulate my voice. Now, the biggest things when it comes down to delivery is actually the timing of the voice. That is one area that AI hasn't quite gotten to. My breakdown of my sentences, my passing over of punctuation most of the time. I have another thought.
You have a very distinct rhythm.
I was doing that on purpose, where I was specifically skipping over the punctuation and starting the next sentence, but starting like 3 to 4 words of it and then inserting the pause, because I know I do that a lot. It's one of the styles in which I speak, and it's just the way that my brain processes information. It will start the next sentence and then catch up when I get those 2, 3, 4, 5 words out, and then I will flow in a regular flow pattern. But then as I'm wrapping up that sentence, I'll go, okay, well, how do I start the next sentence? My brain will literally just flow over the punctuation mark and then slow down and then catch up to where my train of thought is.
Yeah, it's the future we live in. Call your bank, guys. Call your bank and set up a passphrase.
Yep.
Because that's the future we live in, unfortunately.
Yep. Now it says we're buffering? What? I think you're buffering. I have dropped 0 frames, my friend.
You're buffering.
Don't
One
scare
time-
me like that. I think that's
one
your
time-
internet, not mine.
In the year like 2009, I was
2000.
I was hanging out with my brother-in-law, my future brother-in-law back then, and we really wanted to watch the movie Event Horizon. So we found one of those less than scrupulous streaming websites where we could watch the movie Event Horizon.
Mhm.
But we couldn't stream it. It was just too much. And so we thought, let's let it buffer and we'll come back. So we paused it. And we like went out to dinner and came back and it never moved. It never changed. So we couldn't ever stream the dang thing.
BC was saying, "Oh, I'm buffering. I'm literally buffering. I'm skipping over. I'm reaching up to my train of thought, and then I have to buffer the next couple." That's what he was saying. I
gotcha.
get it. I get it. Excellent. Conan reference, nice. Yes. We could also go Futurama in the year 10,000 and a half. I get it. Yeah, Jeff's speech pattern is buffering. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
That was good.
I mean,
that was good.
I think that anybody that makes YouTube or does podcasts or anything like this, you know, you were put on alert when all of this stuff started coming out, and you could go online on TikTok and you could hear Joe Rogan say the most insane stuff, more insane than normal. And
Thank you for the
and right then
qualifier
and there. And of course, you think of Joe Rogan. Well, of course, Joe Rogan, because he puts out these 3 or 4 hour podcasts, you know, a couple times a week, and he's well over episode 1,000. You know, he's got 5,000 hours of audio. Like, of course, he's a target. But like, we all knew it was coming, you know, and so.
Of course, he's a target. No, it takes 60 seconds of anyone speaking.
Yeah. So don't answer the phone anymore.
Yeah, there are already, and these have existed for a couple of years now. And I've actually started warning some of my family about extortion schemes.
Yeah, the whole like,
no,
please,
I am not stuck in Florida, and my passport has been revoked. And I don't know why my passport would be revoked in Florida. I can't fly back to Oregon, but hey, whatever. And I was in a major car crash, and now
yeah. We all know your cars aren't working, so
right. They're not going to make it to Florida. But you know, or you know, I've been arrested and I really need bail money, and they're saying it has to be in the form of Walmart gift cards.
Jeff, if you're in jail, you can wait till Monday. Okay.
Right. Luckily, I think that's my family's attitude too. Novella Hub says it was exciting in the past answering the phone with no caller ID. Oh yes, it was. Like, you think it's a dicey game now when it says, you know, caller ID blocked. That was every call we received.
Yeah. I mean, it says numbers on your phone, but it doesn't tell you exactly who it is. You know, it's like, okay, try this out.
Jeff doesn't have the star on his license confirmed. No, I don't. I still do not have an Oregon Real ID. I do have a passport and a passport card, which the passport card is good for all domestic flights. I also got that because sometimes I drive to Canada. And so I just wanted that so I could just flash that at the border and off I go.
And a federally accepted ID will get you well past the Real ID due date requirements. So.
Exactly. But no, my Oregon ID doesn't expire until 31. Like, I'm one of the last holdouts that won't get a Real ID unless I intentionally go get one.
You know what's annoying is it's getting to the point where they see that old ID and they're like, "Is this fake?"
Oh yeah, no.
Like I've had people like they grab it and they're like bending it.
Yeah, they're like picking at it and whatnot. And it's like,
I'm like, what the hell? It says the expiration. They're like, "Is this real?" I'm like,
it's like,
yes.
This doesn't look like you. I'm almost 40. I understand. Okay.
Plus, for God's sake, know the requirements for which you are carding me for.
Right.
If you think that. Well, why don't you have a Real ID? Because I don't need one.
Yeah.
I don't.
You idiot.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's the face and tone of voice you're going to get if you ever inconvenience me.
Yeah. I will say I was at the DMV this week, and I may have let out an "oh, for fuck's sake," and it was completely involuntary. It's like someone punched me in the gut, and that's what came out. And I apologized later. I said, I understand this isn't your fault. So what had happened is I was purchasing a car. We needed a small little commuter car. Long story. But needed a small little commuter car. So my sister just bought a new car, so we bought her car from her. And I went to go transfer the title. Well, the car was actually in my father's name, and it was my sister's car. And then he signed over the title because he knew she was looking at selling it soon. But he signed his name in the buyer's thing. So technically, he sold the car to himself or whatever. Well, what he did was he crossed it out, and then he initialed above it, which is a legal form of I acknowledge my mistake and this is not fraud. They didn't like that at the DMV. Well, this is a legal document and he sold it. And I said, he autographed above it. And they said, well, how do we know that was him? He didn't do it here. And I went, number one, he lives 8 hours from me. Number two, those are different pens. And number three, that is clearly not my handwriting.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take a forensics expert to go, oh, look, he crossed it out and then autographed with the same pen. Like, there are deeper levels of fraud than someone with the same last name trying to sell the car and filling in the wrong field. And I know defensively, she's had to explain this 150 times in her short career there. And so she's about halfway through her spiel, and I just go, oh, for fuck's sake. And then I caught myself and I said, it's all right. What do I need to do to get it taken care of? And there's actually 2 forms that she gave me, and she highlighted like 19 fields on each of them and says he needs to fill out all of this.
See, and you've got the breathless like, oh, for fuck's sake. But apparently my voice says that wherever I go. Were you with me when we were in the bracelet booth where that lady came up and asked me how old the building was? Was that you or was that somebody else?
No, that was me.
Yeah, like, how old is that building? And I was like, oh, it was made in like 2009. And she's like, no, it wasn't. And my face must have just said, oh, for fuck's sake, because she was like, she just got so mad at me. She was like, I was here 5 years ago and it wasn't even built yet. And I was just
and you're like, I was born here. that was what you wanted to say.
But whatever was written on my face just made her into like the meanest lady of all time. And I was like, you can say whatever you want. That doesn't make it true. I
love people that walk up and ask you a genuinely inquisitive question. And then you give the 100% factual answer and they go, well, that's not true.
And I don't know what it is about my face, but that is a routine thing that happens to me. To me, in particular, like they'll do that. I'm like, no, I don't. Actually, it was around this time, and they're like, oh, well, no, like 5 years ago, I noticed that was the case, and I'm like, okay, well, then why did you ask? And then whatever my face says after that, they get mad at me.
Yeah.
So, whatever. That's not the date of the building. That's the address number. Oh God.
People don't know the building we're talking about. It's literally the beer house, the beer hall in Mount Angel. So we announced actually last Talking Heads that Rett and I were serving beer Friday night. I got recognized twice. That was super cool. So thank you if I got to serve you beer. That was amazing.
That's funny.
One guy was like, I heard you were serving, and walked up and like got a beer and everything. I got another guy who walked up and went, he's like doing this number to me, and I went, yeah, what can I get for you? And he goes, wait, are you are you the crafty guy? And I went, I'm the crafty guy. I said, as always, I'm Jeff. That's my go-to when people recognize me, and I know it's so It's so
Cheesy,
self-serving, but it feels so good.
It's just funny. I mean, you gotta have it.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna say in that moment?
Yeah. My phone number is semi-public now, or I have a semi-public phone number. It's actually a Google Voice account that's linked to my business, that rings to my cell phone. And in fact, like all customer service for the merch store and for Axe Effect purchases goes to my Google Voice number, which rings on my cell phone. And so I'll answer it just hello, because it just rings through. And someone called in because apparently USPS lost one of the Axe Effect orders. And was asking about it, and I said, hold up, let me get your order number. Okay, let me look it up. Oh, I see. Yeah, they lost it. Cool. We'll get you one out. I'm putting the last 100 together like this week. We'll get it out for you. He goes, like, okay, cool. And he goes, wait, is this Jeff? And I went, as always, I'm Jeff. And he goes, oh, that is so cool. I'm such a huge fan. I was like, yeah. And he goes, I didn't know you, like, I call and I get you. And I'm like, it's just me.
Gotta have an AI answer that phone now.
Right. But using my voice.
Exactly.
Of course.
60 seconds.
Of course. That's all we
All
need.
that you need.
That's right. It still needs
Train
to
it
do
on
the
your-
beeps and bloops in between, like it's calculating an answer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as always, I'm Jeff.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. He said
Yeah.
that a little too quickly.
It's if you've ever, some of the old voice auto voice systems would be like, for customer service, say customer service. For parts, say parts. And then you'd go customer service. And then it'd go,
Mm-hmm.
did you say customer service? Like, it still has to do the bleeps in between. That's my requirement. Yeah.
As always, I'm Jeff.
Did you say,
What can
as
I do you
always,
for?
I'm Jeff Geerling?
It's all Gucci.
No one says that.
That's how they know it's you, though. You have to say it's Gucci because that's your catchphrase.
I disagree. I don't think anyone's ever heard me say that. Ever. As it turns out.
I think that I've heard you say it a lot.
I think you
Off
heard
camera.
me slip in a drunken stupor.
Yep.
Never has my life been Gucci, Rett.
You're missing out, though.
Michael, member for 24 months. Thank you so much, Michael. I'm looking to buy a router for our new home. I like Asus. Looking at the RT-AX57, what are your and viewers' recommendations? I'll be 100% honest here. I haven't looked at the home single router market in quite some time. And it's not because I don't care about it. It's that I've used Ubiquiti for so long, I've lost touch with what the current goodness is as far as home routers. And maybe that's an idea for a video. Get 3 or 4 of them together. Get one from Asus, one from Netgear. Get a couple, get as many all-in-ones together. Maybe look at a couple mesh systems, and shoot them out. But I don't really have a good answer for you. I will say, it all kind of depends on your house design. Is it a flat farmhouse? Is it multi-story? What are the walls and construction materials? Because Wi-Fi is a fickle mistress. Wi-Fi's line of sight when it wants to be. Wi-Fi is like AM radio, where because 2.4 and 2.4 especially, because 2.4 gigahertz is an incredibly busy spectrum. Things that are happening to a neighbor's house 6 doors down with their truck could interfere with your Wi-Fi signal. Like a neighbor turning on a microwave at the right angle could mess with your Wi-Fi. It's weird. The modern recommendation is multiple access points, and an access point in the local room that the majority of your computing takes place. So for many people, that'd be like a living room and maybe a secondary one in a den or a dining room or a kitchen, or the intersection between 3 bedrooms. Like get the access point as close to your clients as possible. That's always the recommendation. But the answer is it depends. So I run 3 access points here in my house. I stack my stairwell, so I have one at the top of my stairwell and one at the bottom. And because the stairwell is center in my house, I have a split level house. That means the access point at the bottom of my stairs mounted to the ceiling covers everything in the hallway because it has line of sight to every doorway. And it works great. We have another one mounted to the ceiling at the top of the stairwell in the 2nd story. The living room is direct line of sight, so devices literally see the access point from there. We have a little kitty corner into a dining room and a kitchen, and then down the hallway are 2 bedrooms and the bathrooms. And so the Wi-Fi doesn't have to make many corners or bends or penetrate many walls to get where it needs to go. I also have a 3rd access point out in my garage, specifically for using in my garage as well as devices outside. Because our front yard is directly outside of our garage, and that's where... If I'm outside, that's where I'm at. I'm on my deck, I'm in the garage. So positioning your access points near to where you're going to be primarily, you're going to have a better experience. As far as singular routers, I don't know. That's a great question. I'll look into it. We need customer service nightmares episode for the Axe Effect and Craft Computing. There haven't been any. I've had the normal logistics things. USPS lost a couple packages. USPS doesn't think certain addresses exist, and so returned them to sender, and so it tripled my my shipping costs and delayed packages being delivered by like 4 weeks. Other than that, I haven't heard about any failed hardware. Like, even on our betas, like, when you deploy 300 devices, you expect at least a couple failures. Like, even as an established company, you're shooting for like 97%. Even Intel shoots for like 97, 98% success rate. There's going to be some failures. There's going to be a couple things that don't meet QC, or that met QC, that reach a customer, that then fail at the customer. And that sucks. And you take care of them. I haven't had a single failure yet. I will say my biggest failure has been estimating shipping times, because I said, oh yeah, these are shipping tomorrow, and then like 2 weeks later they're still I will say everything that I packaged on Monday, or everything that I assembled on Monday, is now packaged. Although now that I think about it, we didn't flash it. Those are all packaged now. I might have users flash them themselves, because we just boxed up 110 units. See, this is why logistics is hard. This is why logistics is hard. Why I don't want to be a logistics company. Why I may or may not be partnering with a third party to handle logistics from here on out. We're working on a couple different leads for that. So, yeah. Flash party tomorrow? No, I have to shoot a video tomorrow. Honestly, the firmware is on GitHub, and if you want the most up-to-date version anyway, I recommend going to GitHub and making sure you update your Flash. You update your firmware. So, yeah. I think that just might be my recommendation is you're going to get a unit, plug it in, and flash it. It's simple enough. Got distracted by other people on the call. Blame Cheese and Jordan. I think that's the easy thing to do. Is I think it's easy to say Cheese and Jordan got me distracted. Weak ass logistics game, or failing to get out of doing it. Genius. Yeah. More full-time employees paid with beer. The only employees I can afford full-time aren't of drinking age. And she says, "Oi, Skull, it wasn't my fault." I love the fighting words. "Oi, Skull!" Anyway, we do have one more story to get to. I know there's only 10 minutes left, and I know this was a title story, but hey, better late than never. You can see my full video breakdown on this in the next day or two. Hopefully afternoon tomorrow, more likely Friday morning. But Intel, welcome back, baby. It's been a while. It's been, gosh, how have you been? We broke up in 2019 because Zen had this like hot 64 core unit, and you didn't. Man, you're looking good. How are the years? Oh, still 5 nanometer. Okay, we're getting there. Yeah, no, you look fantastic. I guess for you've had work done. I know. Okay. Is that analogy carrying for everyone? Cool. Intel announces and launches the Intel Xeon 6900P series. And as Patrick from Serve the Home writes, reasserts Intel server leadership. And this is a theme for this product and for my upcoming piece on this. It has been a while since we have seen Intel truly deliver a right hook. And this feels like that. Is it too little too late? That's for time to judge. That's for the next couple of months, I guess. But for right now, this is looking to be a dynamite product. The Broadcom rumors are false. No, Broadcom did levy an offer. The problem is it would never get past regulations. Nor do I think it was realistic for Broadcom to expect it to. So that's as far as I'll go with that. I do want to talk a little bit about the 6900P. So I've talked a lot on this channel about AMD coming out swinging with AMD Zen, with Zen 1. Zen launched in March of 2017, 7.5 years ago. And with the launch of the Ryzen 1700X 8-core 16 CPU unit, decimated, to this day, the high-end desktop market. That market as it existed then does not exist today. You don't have enough PCIe lanes on a high-end desktop chip? Blame the 1700X, because it destroyed the boundary between consumer and high-end desktop. And it really hasn't looked back from there. A couple of things happened after the launch of Zen. We heard that AMD was looking at getting back into the server space because Opteron had been floundering for 6+ years. Really had never gotten any market share whatsoever. It really was Intel Xeon or bust. Like, is there an ARM option that we could do? Maybe an Atom Core or two that we could deploy? Anything but Opteron. Like, that was the mentality. But then AMD EPYC launched and didn't sell very well, but was met with pretty high praise and acclaim for stability, feature set, expandability, memory capacity, memory bandwidth, and core count. The EPYC 7601 32 core was immediately competitive within the server space. And it's shocking to say that. It's shocking that a company that hadn't put out a relevant server product in 6 years go, boom, we've caught up. That was that. And then it was then it was over a year and a half. It was almost 2 years. It was November of 2019, I want to say. That Epic Rome launched was second generation Epic CPUs based on 7 nanometer. And what did Epic Rome deliver? Double the core count from 32 to 64 cores. Do you know what Intel countered with in 2019? 28 cores. They weren't even playing the same game in 2019. So it really has been since 2018 that Intel fielded a core for core, memory channel for memory channel, chip for chip, competitive CPU. Intel has always had an advantage when it comes to scalability, as far as I want to buy 100,000 chips. Intel goes, we got fab space. What do you want? When do you want them? AMD had to say, well, we've got 60,000 on order with TSMC right now. If you want to buy 100,000, we'll have to put in another order, but we have to wait for NVIDIA and Apple and Samsung and Qualcomm and everyone else to get off the fab first so we can have access to it again. Are you cool with a 9-month lead time? And the answer was no. And that's been AMD's biggest hurdle in tackling market share, because they've had the better product. It's just that better product has not necessarily been available in enterprise style quantities. Intel launches the Xeon 6900P. They launched a number of SKUs. We'll pull them up here. Hopefully we can see. Yes, perfect. These are the SKUs that were announced. Starting with the 6960P, 72 cores, 2.8 or 2.7 gigahertz base clock, 3.8 gigahertz all-core turbo, 3.9 gigahertz max single-core turbo, 432 megabytes of L3 cache. Oh, and by the way, 500 watt TDP. That increases to a 96 core. There's 2 different variants. There's a 400 watt and a 500 watt. They have a difference of 300 megahertz base and all-core turbo clocks. That's the difference that 100 watts of power makes, is 300 megahertz of clock speed across 96 cores.
Jeez. For
context of how ridiculous that is. They then offer a 120 core, 2.1 gigahertz base, 3.2 all-core turbo in the 6979P, which is the we couldn't quite bin enough across all of them. So you get 40 cores per tile. And then there is the 6980P, 128 cores, a 2 gigahertz base clock, 3.2 gigahertz all-core turbo, 3.9 gigahertz max turbo. By the way, every SKU has a 3.9 gigahertz max turbo. That might not sound like a lot in consumer CPUs. That's a lot in enterprise CPUs. 504 megabytes of L3 cache, 1.5 terabytes of DDR5 memory capacity. Not only that, memory bandwidth. Let's talk memory bandwidth. Like, Genoa is cute with their 96 core chip. We've got 128 cores, 256 threads. Yes, this is still hyper-threaded, of Intel performance cores at 3.2 gigahertz all-core or 3.9 gigahertz single-core, with 500 megabytes of cache. Let's talk memory bandwidth. 12 memory channels, DDR5 6500, or 6400, excuse me. It's a good number. It's a really good number. What if you need more speed? You can use MRDIMMs, which was, funnily enough, a Micron and AMD initiative to bring an open compute standard to server platforms for basically multi-rank DIMMs, having multiple ranks of memory through a single controller chip on a single stick of RAM. It was meant to increase capacity, but it could also increase binning strength for speed capabilities. As such, Xeon 6P is the first to bring MRDIMM compatibility for DDR5 8800 12-channel memory. Yes.
Good Lord.
That's laptop levels efficiency for speed. That is, we literally drew the traces from the system on chip on a laptop as short a path as we could to the like 6 memory chips that are soldered to the motherboard, because we need that kind of capability and that kind of quality control between all of the different factors of memory speed to get like 7800, 8000 megahertz LPDDR5. That 8800 DDR5 on a stick 6 DIMMs away on both sides of the chip. I can't even say how impressive that is. Like, that is unfathomable. If you are memory bandwidth limited, holy crap, you're not anymore. I don't care your application, you're now software limited. That's the level of DDR5 bandwidth we're talking about here. I hope you have deep pockets too, because holy crap, I pressed at MRDIMMs. Long story short, I don't have hands-on yet.
But soon.
There's been a slight delay in getting my particular review unit to me, but I have a review unit coming. I got to hold my review unit on the Intel campus this last Monday.
Nice.
I don't remember what it's from, but I want to hug it and squeeze it. I will be receiving a dual socket 6980p system with 1.5 terabytes of DDR5 6400. Not 8800. I couldn't weasel MRDIMMs out of them, but I got 1.5 terabytes of lowly DDR5 6400 12 channel across 2 chips, 24 channels of 6400 DDR5. You say a goodnight story to the server every night. It's in my contract. 8.8 gigatransfer is the base speed. Yes. Going to nickname the CPU George? Yes, because I will love him and squeeze him and pet him and bring him flowers. Bring him beer. Yeah, when memory goes into terabytes, holy cheese. Memory's gone into terabytes for a while, and that's actually, you'll learn a little bit more about this. Rett, I know you need to go here in a minute, so we'll wrap up here quickly.
All good. This is good stuff.
You'll learn a little bit more about this. There's actually some trade-off with the amount of DDR5 that you get, the number of channels that are on the chip, and the max capacity. Because one of the trade-offs for having... there are 3 compute tiles on Xeon 6P. Each compute tile at the 128 core SKU contains either 42 or 43 CPU cores, because 128 does not divide by 3. I don't know if you knew that. So it's going to be uneven CPU cores per chip. It's a little bit weird. My brain doesn't like it. We as computer people, we like square numbers. 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 5, 12, 10, 24, 20, 48, 40, 96. Like, I could go on for ages here. What I don't stop at is 43. Okay? That's not a number that ever comes up. 384, I will grant you, because that's at least 2 square numbers added together.
It's time for computer people to grow, Jeff.
I feel like I'm channeling Lewis Black right now. If it weren't for my horse. If it weren't for my horse. So the trade-off to the MRDIMM compatibility of 8,800 megatransfers per second is dual rank is no longer available as a standard thing. You can't have 2 sticks per channel anymore. You can't have a single socket of 12 channel memory capability with 24 DIMM slots. It is 1 channel to 1 DIMM now, which means capacities have actually dropped exponentially compared to Emerald Rapids, which means if you need super high capacity, it's either going to be Emerald Rapids or it's going to be CXL expansion modules, which also have a limit in their own performance hits. But the top end SKU, the 6980p, and actually all of the 3 die or the 3 compute unit SKUs, they're 12 channel and they're limited to 1.5 terabytes of memory. Emerald Rapids had SKUs that did 4 terabytes of memory on a single chip. You're going to need to do some research as we get a little bit more specific and a little bit more refined in how hardware is actually oriented. It's a really interesting thing because there's already been like this super clear divide between enterprise and consumer, and high-end desktop kind of sits like right there in the middle using like entry-level but high clock speed enterprise parts, and that's usually what high-end desktop has always been anyway. But we're even starting to segment generation by generation which generation of processor is better for you based on certain specifications, because things are moving so quickly and we're running into like the limits of physics when it comes to like transference and signal integrity across memory lanes and memory chips and traces on a motherboard. So it's going to be interesting. I have a general overview video that's coming up, like I said, probably tomorrow evening or most likely Friday morning. But I'm going to have hands on this platform in the very near future, and I'm really interested in what use cases all of you kind of have for it. Intel's main push was AI. I actually complained to the Intel organizers and said, I don't deal with AI, let alone on CPU. Like, if I'm going to do AI stuff, I'm throwing a couple A5000s at it. Like, that's my AI processing. And much respect to you, but my users more care about PCI Express expansion and memory bandwidth and storage utilization and things like that. So what use cases do you guys actually want me to throw at this? Because I'm very curious.
That'll be a fun one.
Yep.
Dang, some exciting stuff on the horizon here, and hopefully Intel doesn't follow suit with some of their past. You know, was it the performance was dipping well below like what they'd said, or they just had like a certain number of chips just flat out die after a certain point? Like,
they've had an issue
with story like a few months ago.
Yeah, they've had an issue with Rocket Lake. That was specifically consumer parts above 65 watts were requesting too much wattage for boost control, or too much voltage, excuse me. So their 10 nanometer chips are very happy about about 1.25 volts. 1.25 is kind of like nominal voltage for them. Boosts into like the 1.3, 1.32, pretty reasonable for 5.5, 5.7 gigahertz clock speeds. There are physical problems when you request 1.8 volts because voltage at certain distances will jump gaps between traces. The smaller your FinFET, the lower your voltage limit is. The higher your current can be, but the lower your voltage has to be, which is an exponential curve. And when you request 1.8 volts and your lines are this close together, zip, 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 yeah, things start to happen that aren't really good, shall we say.
Well, not with this line. The 6900P is immune.
Sure.
Gonna do it right.
Sure.
Gonna do it right this time, Intel. Come on.
Yeah. I will definitely be putting this through its paces. Can't wait to see what it does. I've already literally had hands-on with the hardware, although not testing. I've literally like licked it. But it will be in my hands probably in the next 2.5 or so weeks. It's expected to arrive the second week of October, after which point I should get to testing. So
Sweet.
Let me know what you guys want to see, because I'm doing this for you. I want hands-on for you. I want you guys to get the results out of my channel that you want to see. So let me know. Cosworth, $2. Limits, when do we start doing biocomputers? I don't know if I'm willing to go quite to biopacks, gel packs, a la Star Trek Voyager, although maybe. Although there's ethical, considerations to that as well. Like biopacks are a living thing. What's the ethical ramifications of using biogenic computer circuitry, grown computer circuitry that has a quite literal lifespan to do your bidding? It's a good question. Cosworth also sends over another $5. Thank you so much, Cosworth. Didn't Intel also report having a manufacturing oxidation issue as well as the voltage issue? Perfect storm of issues. Yes. It was a perfect storm of flying as close to the sun as possible while also having a potential manufacturing issue that exacerbates any sun flying activities. How's that?
I like that.
Whole home PCs and home lab in a box. You've got to get bigger than that. I've got 256 cores, 512 threads, and 1.5 terabytes of memory. That is 6 times what I have in my entire server rack right now, and I don't even use that.
Oh, man.
Think biglier. Goes well with the Mother of All Storms barley wine Jeff had. Yes, it does. Just in time for stout season. Also, yes. Can it run Crisis and Task Manager? Ooh. I've got to run Crisis and CPU. I've got to see what 256 cores will do with Crisis and CPU. That's definitely a test that has to run. So yeah, we will get that one running for sure. Anyway, this has been episode 352
Woohoo!
of Talking Heads. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news right here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Let's see, if you like what you see on the channel, want to help support us in what we do, go get some of my made in-house, custom designed, print to order merch that I literally make out in my garage and handle myself if that's your thing. Yeah, literally you order something, I make it, and I put it in a box. That's how it works. It's really fun. It's a glorified Etsy store, but it's really fun. Rett, anything good of the order? Anything
Oh, man. Nothing too good, guys. Just follow what I'm doing at dndpodcast.org or go to rettisawesome.com. I'm also really active on Bluesky lately. My handle is at rettisawesome.com. Yeah, just check out what I'm doing all those places. We got the D&D podcast and the live stream going, and otherwise just making music with my band and coming on doing the show every once in a while. So not too much right now.
Sweet. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next week. Cheers, everyone.